Welcome to Views with Hughes, your agenda free news. I'm Jerome Hughes, the creator and founder of this channel. If you enjoy the stuff that I upload, please subscribe to the channel and also click the bell notification so that way you'll be notified of future updates and uploads. All right, so let's go ahead and get right into it. So now there's a petition that's been launched to have HarperCollins, Amazon, and the Tolkien estate stop selling the Rings of Power covers on the Lord of the Rings novels. All right, so this has been reported on Bounding Into Comics. Okay, so it's no surprise and nothing new that we all know that Amazon decided to go ahead and start selling the Lord of the Rings novels, including Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, and Return of the King, with the different character clothing and hands from the show Rings of Power. Okay, and it's taking a lot of heat for that. Okay, so now a user who called themselves Tolkien fan launched a petition aimed at HarperCollins, Amazon, and the Tolkien estate to stop selling J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings books with covers from Prime Video's upcoming The Lord of the Rings of Power series. Okay, so we see that a lot of people on YouTube have been reviewing it, criticizing it, so on and so forth. In other words, those who are the OG Tolkien fans hate it. Okay, and it brings nothing of Tolkien, whether it be the costumes or even the elements that's in the series itself that doesn't line up with the book itself. And not to mention, the whole series is just from the appendices. All right, so they say it's from the Second Age, but it's from the appendices at the beginning before the start of the Lord of the Rings novel. Okay, so it also showed that HarperCollins revealed the Rings of Power covers for Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings books back in the beginning of July. Okay, so they tweeted a new legend begins. All right, so that's them promoting the Rings of Powers in this tweet from back in September. Excuse me, not September. Back at the start of last month, which was July. Okay. So you got the Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, and then you also had the Return of the King with the different characters that is from the series itself. All right. Now, then we had like a few days later in the month itself, they announced on Facebook, in addition, they call it an omnibus edition, collecting all three of the books in one. Okay, so that's when they're having all the books set in one collection, just like it is in this picture right here. Okay, so they also tweeted there, not tweet, but put on Facebook that they should begin their journey of Middle Earth. Now, this isn't similar to, as we know, the Peter Jackson films, let alone even remotely close to what J.R.R. Tolkien had in mind, because as a lot of us have been following this, as well as following the letters of J.R.R. Tolkien, he does not like allegory. Okay, what does this show have in it? Allegory. The showrunners, the directors who are directing it, they said that it has nothing to do with today's modern day social issues or politics or any of that. No, they stated that, and this was at Comic-Con a couple of weekends ago, they stated that it's a timeless story, but the actors say something different. They say something like it's more like along the lines of women empowerment, how diverse it is, and it also shows inclusivity, so on and so forth. J.R.R. Tolkien didn't originally write those stories, whether it be Lord of the Rings trilogy or The Hobbit or even the Silmarillion, that alludes to what was happening during that time period in which he was living. Okay, so the thing is, today they're actually putting in the series the things that are being shared of what's popular with today politically, and it's like they claim to know, everything about Tolkien and everything, but they don't care about the fact that they put allegory in it. Okay, so allegory has nothing to do with anything related to Tolkien. Speaking of which, his grandson Simon Tolkien, as I reported on it a few videos ago, that about how he's feeling about the series, and he said he's excited about it. And this is the same dude who went on a radio show one day back in like the early 2000s when the movies were released by Peter Jackson, stating that the movie is too faithful to his grandfather's book. Last I checked, that's what us fans wanted. Last time I checked, that's what the fans called for, okay? And also, if you think those movies are too close to your grandfather's book, I'm gonna need if you go back and read your grandfather's books again, because there's a lot of stuff in that trilogy and the Hobbit movies where he doesn't really stay faithful to the book. But moving on. And then Lord of the Rings fans harshly criticized both editions on Twitter. One Twitter user describing it, the omnibus version, as a bacteria aching itself. Bacteria attaching itself to healthy tissue. So in other words, he's basically calling it a parasite. All right. And Twitter user Sting Kenobi, as this screenshot shown here, he wrote, Amazon is at it again, sticking their fake fan fiction crap on legit Tolkien work. Basically, the book comes with an S stain on it, this time on a paperback set to be released on August 18th. Okay, so now these books are going to be released on August 18th, and there's people out there who's looking to stop it before it actually starts happening. He followed up with a subsequent tweet that says they are trying to sneak market their travesty onto everything Tolkien now, like bacteria attaching itself to a healthy tissue. In other words, being a parasite. Okay, now the Tolkien fan, he went on to change.org to make a petition demanding that HarperCollins, Amazon, and the Tolkien estate themselves to stop selling Rings of Power book covers. And also, that reminds me, there's a number of YouTubers out there who who make content on Tolkien lore, okay? And they stating that, they're going to be paying attention to the series, and they're hoping that it doesn't really stray far away from the book. But one of the accounts that I'm not going to say right now, but I might say in a later video, let's just say there's by the way they're putting things, they might make me want to go ahead and unsubscribe from that channel. And guess what? I'm not talking about Men in the West. That's an excellent channel. Go ahead, follow them too. So the petition states, quote, HarperCollins, Amazon, and as a rights holder, the Tolkien estate have unjustly co-opted Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings, which covers from promotional material for Amazon's Rings of Power. The Rings of Power. This show is not an adaptation. Rather, Amazon is making something new within a pre-established framework designed by Tolkien, which Amazon is using creative license with. All right. So he also continues mostly that the show has more content from modern showrunners, writers, producers, and corporate executives. And it's like I was saying before, they add a lot of stuff to it. And this is based on the appendices, and the appendix itself is not even that long. Okay, so the examples they include says that shows many of the show's characters, Disa, Halbrand, Underwood, Bronwyn, so on and so forth. They're not even mentioned in the book. They're not even the original characters. They're the made up characters. Okay. And then there's also 9 characters, the whole fellowship of original Amazon characters we know from the pre-release promotional material alone. Wherever anyone stands or opinion on the Rings of Power, it is a separate entity entirely from the Lord of the Rings. So they basically broke down what I was mentioning in the earlier video, as well as the video that I made before. Okay, now they also started addressing the covers, where it notes that there's a concern about the use of those book covers in question, with the likely inevitability of the Rings of Powers in iconography being incorporated into wide cultural use online in videos, posts, communities, memes, and art, in stores, on posters, t-shirts, merchandise, games, books, covers, themes parks, or whatever else may come. Dressing Tolkien's own original work, here meaning the bodies of text which contain his legendarium, as can be found in such texts as The Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings, Unfinished Tales, The Silmarillion, History of Middle-earth, and elsewhere. It is inappropriate. It aids in dominating the cultural consciousness acceptance of Amazon's creation as part of Tolkien's actual bodies of work. So in other words, Amazon Prime Video is trying to put out their agenda, which is the Hollywood agenda, into something, a collection of classic works that has nothing to do with it. And I'm gonna go ahead on change.org and sign this petition myself. All right. They also said it would be a tragedy if his works being scrubbed and colored over like a palimpsest, conflating and confusing them with Amazon's upcoming original series. So basically, Prime Video is doing the same thing that they've done with the other series that's based on books. Okay, they're taking the things that are from the books and taking things that are from current political culture, the current popular stuff today, and putting it into those stories, so that way they can go ahead and sell something, make more money off of it, as a way of trying to promote it, where people can see themselves as the characters in those series. They're doing that very thing here. As a matter of fact, back at Comic-Con, there was somebody asked a question about those who are disabled, as if they're going to be in the future episode of the series, and one of the showrunners say, yeah, they will be. The pandering is strange. All right, moving on. So they also quote Christopher Tolkien here. To quote Christopher Tolkien, Tolkien has become a monster devoured by his own popularity and absorbed into the absurdity of our time. The chasm between the beauty and seriousness of the work and what it has become has overwhelmed me. The commercialization has reduced the aesthetic and philosophical impact of the creation to nothing. There's only one solution for me: to turn my head away. This reminds me of a certain filmmaker who said the very same thing about his work. Oh yeah, George Lucas. Y'all remember the video when he was standing there with his wife when he was talking to the students from Harlem School, right? Where the student asked about like the racial equality for his for the future of Star Wars, and he told them, he was honest. Like, the Star Wars of today is not his Star Wars. The Star Wars he had was similar to this one. It has the aesthetic and philosophical impact, okay? And it's been reduced, all right? And I feel for George Lucas as well as Christopher Tolkien, especially when his son, I think Simon Tolkien is his son, but Simon Tolkien shared that he enjoys this series and the fact that the Hobbit movies and the Lord of the Rings movies were too faithful to the books themselves. All right, and it's like, here's the list of demands that they have: to request that all Amazon tie-in covers for the Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power, be discontinued entirely, and that all ebook covers of the Lord of the Rings with the Rings of Power iconography immediately be restored with different cover images, and that the Rings of Power's tie-in covers be there entirely discontinued as well. Excuse me. 3, all printing and propagation of these covers by Amazon, HarperCollins, the Tolkien estate, or any other body responsible in handling Tolkien's works cease entirely now and henceforth. And the 4th and last one, all future promotional material or iconography of the Rings of Power remain entirely separate and never be used on or in the published text of J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings, The Silmarillion, Unfinished Tales, The History of Middle-earth, and all subsequent publications of works by J.R.R. Tolkien containing information on his legendarium. All right, so far as the they also established that by the writing of this article, the petition has received over 165 signatures. All right, so I'm gonna look at that later. So now we have a bunch of people who are working for this one billionaire to come together and try to incorrectly promote diversity into something that has nothing to do with modern politics or modern day politics. Okay, it has. As a matter of fact, they're doing the opposite of what J.R.R. Tolkien wanted his work to be, and the same thing that his son wanted his work to be. Okay, it's been commercialized, and it's also not going according to what he originally put out there. All right. As a matter of fact, the showrunners are trying to downplay, or no, to get us like make it seem as if, you know, oh, it's not political of today's rhetoric. It doesn't have any agenda out there. It's strictly Tolkien. It's definitely related to Tolkien. But the actors and actresses who are on the show, no, they're saying the complete opposite thing. They're stating that it's just basically going along with the changes and the direction with with what's happening in today's culture. I'm basically summing what they're saying, but you get it. All right. So the petition. So far, the goal is at 500 signatures. About 304 people have signed so far. And guess what? I'm going to sign it too. All right. So let me know what y'all think. And also, I'm going to leave the link below for this article in a discussion panel. Let me know what y'all think about this. Okay, do you think this is going to go anywhere? How do you feel about the Rings of Power? Are you going to watch it or no? Let me know in the comments. And also, if you haven't done so, please subscribe to this channel and click the bell notification so that way you'll receive updates of future videos. And also, if you enjoy what I've taught in this video as well as all my other videos, please smash that like button. All right, and also comment below where I've also went wrong, as well as add to any statements that I've talked about. And until then, people, peace.